So, agility. It's currently one of the most used common buzzwords, right? But rightfully so, because we've all seen the slides about old industry giants like Polaroid, Kodak, or even the Nokia mobile division walking the path from the top of the mountain straight into oblivion because they didn't adapt quickly enough when their market was being disrupted by younger companies. Now, it is this fear at a boardroom level which fuels CXOs to come into action and embrace digital transformation and agility. Good, because that's more fun for everybody. Looking at this, unfortunately, however, that is not the only threat enterprise IT is facing today, which is hot in the news. There is another threat which can upset many companies and be a challenge for them tomorrow. I am talking, of course, about data breaches. Now, May this year, GDPR came into life, it's here to stay, and companies think twice before they actually will cover up a data breach, meaning that if you have a data breach, as a data controller, you need to notify the public within 72 hours. So, the internet is full of crawlers, right? We've tested this many times. We know it will only take them a couple of minutes to find that one port one of your employees or colleagues has just opened up. And then you really don't want to be that guy responsible for this environment where you have a data breach or a hack on your hands. So, while we all love agility for the speed of development it brings to the table, it can be turned into pretty reckless behavior when it actually exposes business-critical workloads or personal data of consumers. So, you really want to, in the one hand, elevate agility in your enterprise, which they absolutely love, but at the same time, you also increase the risk of data breaches, which enterprises absolutely hate. And right there, smack in the middle, is you trying to set up the public cloud for your enterprise, trying to balance these two conflicting interests. So, no pressure whatsoever. Looking at this picture, though, you start to get why this contradiction is causing a lot of problems for enterprises to set up and action a proper public cloud strategy. And the end result they usually end up with, or basically I should say the hybrid medium result they get stuck with, looks a bit like this. So this is actually the old IT process companies had when they have the private cloud or their own data centers. You will all probably recognize it. It's a process, it's a waterfall process which takes about 6 months to set up a new environment. Now, your whole company, developers, everybody has decided this is not for us anymore. We're moving on to the public cloud, but this time we want it with security and governance because we don't want the data breaches. And then you end up with this guy. This is the public cloud IT process and now currently being used with many enterprises. And that's actually not that much better. Sure, it's faster. I mean, setting up the infra is way faster. Procurement, smoother, but every time you're setting up a new environment, it takes up to 3 months because you're having meetings, discussions concerning all the policies of security, user management, managed services. You might even still be using ETL processes for that, etc., etc., etc. You're still stuck with a process that may take up to 3 months. Okay, so how do we actually marry these two concepts? How do we marry agility on the one hand with enterprise security on the other and make it scalable? Because enterprises that are really ambitious want to move hundreds of workloads straight into the public cloud. Let me show you. So for this demo, I've got to ask of you guys, you need to pretend I'm a developer here. So good luck with that. And I'm going to set up my new Azure environment because I'm going to make the next big thing for my enterprise. So requesting the Azure subscription right now. I do this at the managed services of Nordcloud, but that of course could be your cloud competence center. I'm gonna grab a coffee.
Nordcloud Managed Services receives the request from Martin. They roll out a landing zone based on the development sandbox preset using our automation tooling. The development sandbox preset in this example consists of an Azure subscription. Within it, a VNet, some network security groups, and a Windows virtual machine. Of course, we also have mandatory security controls and audit logging enabled.
Awesome, I've got a mail. My Azure subscription has already been set up. And it says I need to read something about a sandbox chapter, but whatever. I know what to, I will receive my Windows VM. It's not working. My remote desktop is not working, and it has something to do with the network. This is annoying because I really want to use this VM right now. So, but I know how to fix this, no problem whatsoever. I'll just go to networking. Quickly open up the firewall for a moment there. Let's see, add inbound port. All right, here we go. Source, any, well, that includes me, right? So let's go for that and change the port, 3389, that's for RDP, awesome. Change the name, and I'm now gonna add the security rule so I can actually access my Windows VM. Oh, there's some strange warning, I'll fix that later. Not to worry. Adding it right now, and okay, it's filled. What just happened here? Why didn't that work? That's strange. Resource RDP was disallowed by policy. What? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna play foosball for a moment.
It looks like Martin did not read and follow the rules. This will lead to a security event being triggered. Nordcloud Managed Services will review and dig into the Azure activity log to find out what happened. Here we can see that Martin tried to open RDP to the world. As we can see his IP address, let's help him out and tell him how to do this correctly.
Awesome, I just received help from the managed cloud guy from Helsinki with some good advice. I opened incidentally up an administrative port. Okay, that might not have been the most intelligent thing to do. Hope nobody noticed that except that guy. Let's just change my, how did that guy know my IP address? Okay, need to figure that out later. Change the ports and see if it works this time with the instructions of my managed cloud guy. Let's have a look. Adding the security rule right now, and success. Okay, let's see if I connect to my brand new Windows VM right now. Download RDP. And let's have a look. We are in. All right. End of demonstration. What actually just happened here? So obviously a developer needed a new Azure subscription, needed a VM and requested it with the managed cloud guy. But he got something extra out of it. He expected only to receive his Azure environment, but instead he received that with all the security on par on enterprise level, which is why he was actually caught red-handed trying to open up a port to the world. Now, that little thing right there is what we at Nordcloud like to call the landing zone. Others call it the foundation, for instance. So the landing zone is basically a combination of scripts and ARM templates, which together make sure everything is set up in the brand new Azure environment before you set up your own application. Meaning user management, done. Auditing, done. Login, done. Managed services, etc., done. Okay, so if you want to, okay, still there, nice. If you want to achieve that for your company, how do you go about? Because this is actually a pretty good step in the right direction of becoming, getting a more agile manner in dispersing your Azure subscriptions. So the first step is a pretty obvious one, but I'm going to mention it either way. You really need to embrace as a company that you're going to build your Azure stack with infrastructure as code and not infrastructure as click. The reasons are quite obvious. The first one being you seriously diminish the human errors. Secondly, you get a continuous improvement program going on. Anytime you change something in the code, it's there to stay. The third one, you really start to build a scalable solution because that code is reusable. Okay, so once you've done that, a harder part comes into effect, which is basically, as an enterprise, you all need to sit down and discuss the policies you're going to use. Now, we have seen a lot of success with using a workshop format, 3 days, where you invite about, normally speaking, 15 people of your company, and it's anybody who's touching the public cloud. So we're not only talking about the infra security and the DevOps, we're also talking about CISO, legal, procurement, etc. And normally speaking, there's also somebody from the board there who will support this initiative. So with that workshop, what it does is by the end of it, you have defined with each other how you're going to set up the public cloud, which policies you're going to use. You're going to look at the CI/CD pipelining, and you make some core business decisions on it. But you only need to do that basically once. Once you've had that workshop, oh, and by the way, normally what should happen as well is that after you have a pretty good idea on how to manage the public cloud as well. Today we're focused more on the technical side of implementing a public cloud, but of course there's also a whole organizational side going on. We're talking of course about implementing a CCOE or a Cloud Competence Center as Nordcloud calls it. This is absolutely fundamental as well in knowing how to manage this new solution. But anyway, focusing on the landing zone right now. After you've defined the policies, you hire, or hopefully you already have one, a cloud architect that knows how to code. And those guys are going to build the presets, code it for, in this case, the automated environment A, which could be the sandbox for your DevOps, right? Once this has been produced, it can go right into the automated provisioner, which is a system we like to use. You can use Azure Functions, for instance, for it, as a serverless background. And this is basically the first step to getting your own vending machine of Azure subscriptions with flavors. So the last step in this case would be you start to make more and more and more of these presets. Because, of course, a DevOps environment has a completely different policy going on than business workloads, for instance, core banking applications, stuff like that. I mean, when Nordcloud does that, we normally don't even include humans in the live production environments. Those are excluded, to name just one policy you could implement, which is radically different from a DevOps sandbox. And once you have that, then you're all set. Now, this whole session to build a landing zone from scratch can take you up to anywhere from 6 months to a year to achieve this. Or you can start with the Nordcloud standards as a base of a landing zone, and then it will take you about 2-3 months to set this up. But once you have the molds in your hand, and you can print Azure subscriptions with the proper policies anytime you please, And that's an important step in getting the agility and becoming successful as an enterprise. Thank you very much. Okay. So, for the next session, I want to invite Joni Leskinen. As I said, he helped set up our standard landing zone, which is, just as introduction, it takes about 80 or 90% of all the basic features you should have in there are already pre-produced, making it more easy to dispense to companies. So let's open up the Q&A for our lead cloud architect. Are there any questions? Yes, please, sir.
What exactly is the Nordcloud?
Okay, very good. Oh, here's your sweater, by the way. Okay, so Nordcloud is our company. We started in 2011 in Scandinavia, in Finland. Right now, we're servicing like 27% of the enterprises noted on the stock exchange in the Scandinavian countries. Basically, in Finland, they have been ahead of the Netherlands in accepting the public cloud, so we've had a lot of opportunity to get our experiences in. These are one of the standard services we provide to companies, helping them setting up a proper public cloud. Okay. Any more questions? So have anybody of you tried to set up like something like similar to a landing zone or something for your company right now to get that going, to make it more automated? Yes, sir.
We have been using Azure ERM APIs to automate a lot of it through a single portal.
I'm sorry, could you speak up?
We have used Azure ERM APIs to get a lot of this automated through a single portal in our organization.
Okay, and how has it been working out for you?
It's an internal development, so it's been slow, but whatever tooling we have in place, we're happy with it.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Building a landing zone is a trial and run kind of situation, of course, so it really helps if you get an extra step in the right direction. Okay, so
about the landing zone, so we have been done this landing zones or cloud foundation, give or take 100 customers. And in the past, it usually took something like 2 to 6 months as a project. We start defining the requirements and building everything and delivering the customer. So nowadays, we can do same thing in a matter of days. So we will send the questionnaire for the customer. This is the things that you need to answer. This is what it's going to deliver. And then we can create actual landing zone in, I think, 18 minutes. And what we're using ARM templates, and we're using a cool service called Azure DevOps. So you probably have heard about Azure DevOps. If you want to automate your Azure DevOps is the way to go. Azure DevOps tool.
any more questions? Yes?
Yes, that's actually excellent question. So what we call as a landing zone, it's what you need to put inside the subscription. So if you give us a developer just a subscription, they can do pretty much everything and anything on it. So customers usually want to, let's say, give them a free hand of doing something, giving them access to the network, giving them a secure access to the internal Azure subscription like a VNet. And then they want to build some kind of governance and control in place. And then they want to also add some security on it. So you need to have a certain components, Azure services inside the subscription. VNet is there, logging is there, security center needs to be there, there's some Azure automation there, and you need to do the VNet peering and stuff like that. So that's what we call landing zone. So it's ready for the end users to start using it.
Yes.
Is there also support for things like Terraform to come into play, or does your solution replace Terraform completely?
Yeah, that's actually a question that we are hearing a lot, and I'm not a Terraform fan. So I think that why people are using Terraform are thinking about, hey, let's use Terraform, and then we write the template once, and then we go do the deployment for the AWS or other cloud environments. So the reality is it's not like that. So Terraform is a good language if you have a people who know how to write it. Of course, it's limited what it can do for the Azure, and we recommend when you're doing the Azure landing zones and deployments, you use an ARM template. So Terraform is not a replacement. You can use a Terraform to, let's say, deploy an application inside the landing zone. So Terraform is a good if you have a set of people who knows how to use it, then go with it. But our recommendation is to go with ARM templates. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. Please.
This landing zone you create, is it static or dynamic?
That's another good question. So right now we create a static one. But there's a problem that when in the past, let's say we create a landing zone for the customer A in a year ago, Azure released a set of new features. So the landing zone needs to be maintained. So you need to think about the landing zone definition that it's like a living process that you have to maintain. And then we are aiming that direction that we can actually deliver like a landing zone as a service, but it will require lots of work from us and then think about how we do the upgrades. A good example was that Microsoft released an Azure firewall. So in the past we had to use a third-party appliance or something other things. Now it's out of the box. So we have to do some migration from the old systems to the new one. So it's a continuous process what you need to run it. Of course it can be automated. Have you heard about Azure policies, for example? So Azure policies, you can do pretty much anything with Azure policies, anything. So that should be your another tip from today that use ARM and use Azure policies. Anything that you can do with Azure policies, then it's easier because it's automatically maintained.
Okay, any more questions? Yes.
In the back?
In the back. No, definitely not. So good question. We've been here now in the Netherlands for 2.5 years. But as Nordcloud, we've been growing quite rapidly. So we're now in I believe 8 countries.
9.
9 countries. Okay. So, but we're all over Europe. And in total now we're with together 350 employees. 150 of them are actually cloud architects, all being able to code. And I think that's a big advantage because we have a large pool of people who have been working in this for years and who all have the same basic coding skills. So it have been quite a good years. Last years and years before, we've seen 100% growth year on year. So hopefully we'll increase, but looking at the Azure and other clouds that are growing right now, I'm pretty confident we will.
So out of the 350 people, we have about, give or take, 200 people who are certified for certain cloud technology. 150 are architects, and then we have about 100 people for who are developers. So one of the biggest problems right now with the cloud adaptation is that how to do certain things in the cloud. It's more like how to do certain things in the scale. How can we serve 100? How can we serve, let's say, 200 projects at the same time? How can we make sure that they are compliant? How can we make sure that the costs are being handled? So it's more nowadays a scale problem. It's not how to do it or can we do it, it's more how can we do it in scale.
Apologies, man in the back, you had a question. No more questions? Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so,
please.
You typically, as a project member, you don't ask for a VM or a set of VMs. You need to deploy an application, right, into those resources.
Mm-hmm.
So does this also work well when people need a certain application to be hosted on a set of resources in Azure? How do you imagine doing that with clear policies and templates?
For that, if I understand the question correctly, so for that we are using model that we will give the developers, or our customers are giving the developers a called sandbox or development subscription, where they can actually play around, and in end of the playing around, they should create a template out of it. And then we will take the template and then automate it. It's getting provision to the dev environment, then it's provision to the QA and then production. And then on top of that, the developers can use this CD/CI pipeline to deploy the actual application. The platform could be an AKS and database, or it could be an OpenShift or whatever it is, and then they do the deployment on top of it. So we try to get, let's say, humans away from the production and QA environments. So make it code once, and then it's repeatable.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
I'm only here development environments. Can you also use it for production environments? If you are not to be a company, you don't have all the knowledge inside to maintain a full Azure environment.
Yeah, so the policies, policies will work same way. Though what we are using is that, let's say that we have a legal entity somewhere, a company, and we recommend that make a management group for your production workloads, make a management group for your QA environments and your sandbox and so on. And then you apply your policies and rules on management group, and every subscription what is created there, we actually inherit the rules. So are you familiar with the concept management group? It's a way in Azure that you can put a lot of subscriptions there, and then you can target certain policies or RBAC roles or something like that. So it's a scaling tool basically. But the same tools will work on the development, the same tool will work with the production. Of course, the rules might be a little bit different.
And we're currently already applying this at many banks, for instance. So one of our customers, I can't mention his name, but it's a full online bank, and all of their activities are in Azure, using this as a backbone for their company. So banks are using this, but also manufacturing companies for which we have set up IoT solutions, for instance, because that's one of the parts that was shortly touched upon by Joni, is that we have, since 2 years, we've added Nordcloud solutions. It is about 70 developers that are only focusing on building innovations for the public cloud. So that means that if you as a company, I mean, you're building the public cloud for a certain reason, right? You want to increase your capabilities. And we can help there because that group of developers has a lot of experience in building IT solutions, machine learning, data lakes, and all sorts of cool stuff like that. So definitely we can help out there. So it's not only DevOps per se. Any more questions? Okay, so please don't hesitate if you have any more questions to contact us. My email is back there, but you can also, of course, approach us right now after this presentation. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.